In this video, I'm going to walk through an example of using a Fabric notebook to take data snapshots from a Power BI semantic model. So this general approach may be applicable to you, but also the example I'm going to show, I'm sharing all the code so that you can replicate this if it's useful to you if you have multiple capacities where you work. To do this, again, I'm a citizen developer. I'm not a Python expert, so please forgive me in advance if I don't follow all the best practices, but I had to learn a bunch of stuff to be able to do this. So you may also value this content just to learn or see examples of how to do all these things listed here. I use the semantic link a lot in the notebook. I used to use Spark SQL to query one of the Delta tables. I had to learn about a bunch of Python topics. I had to manipulate data frames in a bunch of different ways. So a bunch of things had to learn there, and then some specific stuff to Fabric, writing two different formats out to the lakehouse, how to dynamically generate a multi-line DAX query and then use that with semantic link, but also creating a date table and a measures table in a notebook. The specific solution we're going to walk through is to take data snapshots from the Fabric Capacity Metrics app. And so what the solution allows you to do is, one, store your data longer term if you choose to, than the 14 days that come with the metrics app. And this is summarized data, but also to look across multiple capacities in one report without having to select one capacity at a time. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know I'm a huge fan of both Power Query and Power Automate, and this solution could have been done with those as well. But notebooks are really growing on me because there's so much you can do. They're very flexible and very powerful. So I think I managed to mention these things. Just a few caveats for this solution if you choose to use it. There is some great stuff coming in this space for capacity metrics. So I view this as a short-term solution that eventually won't be needed, but there's value in it in the short term. If there are future versions of the metrics app, it's possible that if they make changes to that model or column or table names, et cetera, it could break this, but hopefully they're not big enough and it'd be easy to fix it. I've done this to take data from two P1 capacities that we have on our demo tenant. So I'm not sure how fully scalable it is. The data are summarized, so it's not a ton of data. So I think it will work, but please put in the comments if you try this and struggle with it with larger capacities. And it does just get the data from one capacity at a time and then puts it all together. So that helps mitigate the amount of data you're moving at any given time. And then I'll talk about these as I go through the solution. I'll go through this as well. All the files you need are on my GitHub file share, and I'll explain what you need to do with those files, and then I'll walk through in this video how to go through these steps to replicate this solution if you choose to. So let's start. Let's get into it. So this is our Fabric Capacity Metrics app on our demo tenant. We have two capacities, and again, this solution should work with many more capacities for customers that have that. We have this one capacity that's heavily loaded at times with some load tests, and then another one that stays well below 100%. But we want to capture that data and store it longer term and have a report that lets us do that. So let's take a look at the finished product here that you'll get. So here's the workspace I created earlier when I tested deploying this, and we'll build a new one in a second. But you'll end up with a lake house with all the data. We'll talk about these notebooks. It'll auto-generate this custom semantic model with the measures and relationships, and then you'll download the PBX and get this capacity summary report to upload. And so that, this is what the report looks like. Again, we just have two capacities. Copilot helped me out a little bit to make this. So you get, a summary of what's going on with your capacities, workspace items. This is summarized at the hourly level, so you can do like max users or average users. but you can't do like a total users type thing. Gives you your overall utilization. It says, what was the percentage in the maximum utilized hour. Same thing for the throttling tab values there. How high did it get on those capacities? And there's, you can do date ranges here, or you can use the relative date filter in the panel. And then down below, you can see the breakdown of utilization by what type of item it was, what kind of operation, workspace, and item. And of course, all these you can cross filter and all that kind of stuff to get the data you're interested in. Okay. All right. So let's talk about how to build this. So I'm going to create a new workspace, and I'm just going to call this MAS demo, so metrics app snapshots. I will assign it to premium capacity. And then I'm also going to make a quick change on my workspace setting so I don't forget to do it later in the Power BI general. Just allow users to edit data models in the service. Then I'm going to create a new lakehouse to store all the data. I'm just going to call it metrics app data. Let that be created. And then all the files you need are on this file share on GitHub. I'll put the link in the description. There's 4 files here. You only need to download 3 of them. So basically the PBIX file and the 2 Python notebooks are what you need to download. The BIM file is used, but the code within the notebook pulls that dynamically from the code cell. So you don't need to download that one. I've already downloaded these. So I'm going to move over to the data engineering experience here just so I can import a notebook. And I'm going to upload both of those notebooks that I downloaded. All right, so those should be there. And you'll notice there have these suffix here, daily or once. I'm going to open the daily one first, and we're going to run this one manually once. But then once you've done that, we can run it on a schedule, and you'll want to set it up to run daily. All right, so I'll just do daily. I'll do like 8 a.m., whatever, it doesn't matter. I'll have it start today and whatever, and apply. And I chose this hour just because you want to make sure that UTC and whatever hour you choose here is the same. This probably could be fixed in the code, but I think that was one issue I ran into. And since I'm 4 hours off of UTC, 8 a.m. is fine. All right, so then I'm going to attach my notebooks here. You may see this as well. So we can just remove all lake houses and then add your existing lake house. I guess I could have created the lake house here as well. I want to make sure I add the one from the current workspace that I'm in. So I've done that. And then what I'm going to do is just start the code. I'm going to run all the cells. One thing I need to check first, though, is I need to provide the name of my metrics app workspace and the name of the metrics app itself. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I think it's the same in my code already, but then I'll go back to the notebook. It was a little different. Okay, and then I use just the default name of the metrics app, but you want to confirm in case you've renamed it. And then I think that's all I need to change. I'm going to go ahead and just do run all here. And then as it's running, I'll just talk about generally what each of these cells are doing. I'm not going to go into detail. Maybe I could do future videos on those. Let me know in the comments if that is of interest to you. But this first cell basically loads Semantic Link, so we can do our DAX queries against our metrics app data set. Some other libraries getting installed as well. And then there, you'll see repeating patterns in many of these cells. This one is creating the capacities table for our model. And so what this one does is it first checks if that there's a subfolder called capacities here. If it isn't, it creates it. It uses the values we provided above for the name of the workspace and the semantic model. And then it just runs this simple DAX query to go get the whole capacities table from the metrics app. Then does a little regex to parse out just the column name because it comes with the table name with the column in square brackets. So this pulls out just the column names, get rid of spaces with underscores so that I can write out my delta tables. I have a hard-coded table here that has the skew for each skew size, the capacity units per second and per hour. Merge that in. And then each of these cells does two things. One is it writes CSV files to the lakehouse, and those aren't used in the model, but it's sort of an archive. So if you needed to do additional analyses later, you could. But then it also creates the delta table. And so with these two of these tables, the capacities table and the items table below, it actually overwrites it every day. So that's one of the things to be aware of. So it just gets the latest values for all of your capacities and all of your items, whereas the fact tables are appended every day. Okay. This next cell is very similar to this one. It does all the same kind of things, except this time it's going and grabbing the items table from the metrics app. And then this is the first of the two fact tables. It starts with the list of capacities it got above and converts that to a list so that we can iterate over it. It also creates a subfolder if it doesn't exist. And then this is where we do some Spark SQL. And I'm basically going to check what the last day we got data added to our fact table is. And because it doesn't exist yet, that would be an error. And it runs this except here. And this is where you can set how far back to go, up to 14 days. This one for bigger capacities could have a lot of data, and you may see this 64 megabyte error. If you do, just rerun it with a smaller value here for that initial load. Okay. Then basically it says, hey, if I haven't already run this cell today, if I need new data, basically go ahead and iterate over all of the capacities, pass in the capacity ID into this define M parameter so that we can pull just that parameter, that capacities data from the metrics app, and basically go get this table of data, which is a hourly summary of data for each item and operation. And it gets it basically yesterday's data, and it goes back as far as it needs to, so it doesn't add the same data to that. Then if there is data there, then it does very similar things. It does some data cleanup things. It writes out the CSV file, and so it generates a file for every day for every capacity, right? So you'll end up having a lot of CSV files there eventually if you have a lot of capacities. And then it appends to the delta table. Right. Same exact thing for the throttling data. Everything is the same. It checks for the latest data. A little bit more sophisticated DAX expression here. And this goes and gets hourly value basically from the throttling tab of the metrics app. How close did I get to my 100% limit there for interactive delay, rejection, etc. Same thing, writes out the CSV and that. And then this is just a table cell to create a date hour table. So you have a date table in your model with an hour level grain. So I modified this from a different one I made, so there's more columns than you probably need. I do have some relative columns here. I like to do these indices columns from today which is why this runs every day. You certainly could go a different way. Okay, and so then this is set up to run every day and just keep adding data to your model. If I refresh this, you'll see that it's created some of the tables, and if I refresh the files, you'll see that it created the subfolders, and then in each of these are the CSV files. Again, these are not used in the model, but they're there as an archive. You could comment out that if you don't care about those, or you could do additional analyses over all those snapshots. All right, so then if we switch over to the other notebook, which is the one you need to run just one time, and I open this one, I'll go ahead and run this one as well, and I'll just do run all. I need to check something now that, I just want to update something down here. You can name it, you can name the model whatever you want. But I'll go ahead and run. First, I want to attach my lake house. Same thing again. If you see this, just remove all lake houses and then add the one that you created. Make sure it's the one from the current workspace. All right, so then I'll just go ahead and run this as well. And this first cell, all it does is create a measures table. I like to have a disconnected measures table in my model. So this just makes a single column with the values 1, 2, 3, and then writes that out to Delta, but you only need to do that once. Then the second one, one of my colleagues, Michael Kowalski, has written some awesome code that we're just going to borrow here to both create our model from the BIM file as well as to point that new model to the lake house that we've created in this session. And so this code goes out and does that. It gets this wheel file that has all the stuff we need and then installs some new functions here. Makes this Fabric Cat Tools 1 available. And so that goes out and gets that code. And then this cell goes out and gets the BIM file from my file share. So again, you don't need to download that. This just goes and gets it. And then this cell block here with one line of code takes the BIM file contents and creates the metrics app. I call that metrics app snapshots. And so basically that's for the relationships and the measures. And then this last cell here updates that model that we've just created to use this lake house so that we can then point our report to that model and get our data. So we'll let that finish running. I may pause the video. Okay, model created successfully. And then it'll update the model to point to the lake house. Okay, so now if we update our tables, we should see the measure table added and no more files were added. And if we go back to our workspace, we should see our new model that was created, our custom model. I'm not sure if we need to refresh this or not, or reframe this. I'll just go ahead and reframe it, make sure everything's working. You can also, once that finishes, you can go here and open the model. Then you may see these exclamation points in the triangles, so you can go ahead and edit tables. And then you can confirm. If you don't see these right away, you may need to give it a minute or hit this refresh here to update that. And hit confirm. Hopefully that'll make our triangles go away. Good. And so now we have our model. And again, you could stop here or even before and just go with the lakehouse data. If you want to stop at the model and build your own report, you can. But if you want to use the report that you downloaded from my file share, we can do that as follows. I recently did that, so let me close that. So I'm going to open a new desktop file. Then I'll open the PBIX that I downloaded. And this is it here. And when it first comes up, you'll likely see an error because it may be pointing to something that doesn't exist for you, but we're going to fix that. Now, you may have seen like a pop-up right away that says, error in connection or whatever, and you just hit the edit button. This one, because this does exist for me, it found something to connect to, but it's not connected to the one we just made. This is from a previous workspace I did. So you probably got a pop-up that said, I gave you an edit option there. So then edit that. I'm going to go ahead and do options and settings and go to data source settings. And so you want to basically do the same thing. That this is the one we just created, this new workspace. I happen to call it the same thing, which is probably why it found something. So then I'm going to connect to that, and then the report should update to the new workspace and the new lakehouse and that new semantic model. We'll give it a sec. It's going to look the same, so it'll be hard, but you see these are updating here, and hopefully we won't see that. If you do see this, I did see this earlier. There's one other thing to check, that if you go back to your workspace that you just created, go to the semantic model and check the settings. And it may have toggled it to think that it needs an on-premise gateway here. If you turn this off and then just do single sign-on and then apply that, that should take care of things. So if I go back to this and then refresh, and hopefully that'll fix our issues. Yes, it's working. And so now I can save it and publish it up to the workspace. And I call that MAS demo. Should be pretty quick. And then if we do that and open the report, we should have the finished product here. And again, if you set up that daily notebook to run every day, it should just keep adding data to the model. Again, the items and capacities will overwrite, but you have the historical data in those CSVs if you want to do different kinds of analyses. But hopefully this is a useful solution to more quickly look at a cross-capacity summary of all your capacities, as well as storing data for longer term. Thank you.